Alright guys, Papa Pepper here once again with more 50 Days to Understand the End Times More Accurately. Today we're doing Day 30, Dark Sun and Blood Moon Part 3. Allowing Scripture to interpret Scripture clearly reveals that both the abomination of desolation and the sun being turned into darkness and the moon into blood will occur before the day of the Lord begins. Interestingly, the pre-tribulational view paints an entirely different sequence of events. First, they believe that prior to the beginning of the day of the Lord, and there the tribulation, the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood. Joel chapter 2, verse 31. Then, during the tribulation, the sun became as black as a sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, Revelation 6, chapter 12b, as a result of the sixth seal judgment. Next, at the fourth trumpet, the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so that the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise, Revelation chapter 8, verse 12. Because pre-tribulationalists believe that the Olivet Discourse, as recorded in Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21, has nothing to do with the rapture, but instead is about the return for Jesus at the Battle of Armageddon, then prior to Jesus splitting the Mount of Olives, since that unrecorded event is what they believe is happening in Matthew 24, shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven. Matthew 24, verse 29. I understand that one of the reasons that God made the sun, moon, and stars was for signs, Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, but this seems as confusing as a child repeatedly flipping a light switch on and off. No potential option of a pre-day of the Lord darkening of the sun and blooding of the moon exists for pre-tribulationalists to choose from in the events recorded in Scripture, just three other similar events that are all not the right one. Since we are repeatedly told that before the day of the Lord begins, the sun will be darkened and the moon will be bloodied, first by Joel and then by Peter, we can be confident that such is true. Since the abomination of desolation must also occur prior to the day of the Lord, it makes sense that both Mark 24 and Mark 13 mention the abomination of desolation and the sign in the sun and the moon before they mention the coming of Christ. In the pre-tribulational view, though we are told twice that such an event will occur prior to the day of the Lord, and though 5 options exist for this major event being recorded in Scripture, none of those 5 options could actually be that particular event. Point number 1. A major sign preceding the day of the Lord is given to us by both Joel and Peter. Point number 2. When we use God's phrase, the day of the Lord, to reason through eschatology, our job as Bible scholars becomes much less confusing. Point number 3. Very similar events of such magnitude would have to occur 4 separate times in order for the pre-tribulational view to be correct. Point number 4. Scripture clearly gives us many signposts and indicators of events that will soon occur, including Christ's coming and God's end-time wrath. Thank you once again for joining me. We'll be back again tomorrow with Day 31. Hopefully this is blessing you. Hopefully this is breaking things down into small digestible portions that you guys can reason through Scripture on your own. Don't believe it just because I said it. Make sure you're testing things. Make sure you're reading it out, searching out for yourself. And by the time we're done with this, hopefully you guys will have a better understanding of things. Thank you. Pop out.